Hello everyone, I hope you're doing very well. This brings us to week 6. I hope you had a good week out looking at pretty flowers and other what have you, nice things, nicer weather at least. We had some clear skies, the air pollution wasn't so bad towards the end, but this weekend it is raining and raining and raining and raining. So I hope you're all dry. Your introduction videos, overall fine. If you did it and you gave it to me, you submitted it successfully, you're getting full points. As I mentioned before, this is a warm-up activity, a warm-up assignment, just to get you start thinking about video production. That's the entire goal. So for each of your videos, I'm writing comments about your audio and video if there's problems, suggestions that about editing, be able to cut out when you reach for your phone, things like that. Those are nice to think about. This is now week 6, so we're over 30% down the semester. Wow, congratulations. But things are going to start going faster and faster, and pretty soon we'll be in June, and hot diggity daffodil, we got summer vacation, all those exciting things. So we'll have more assignments, we'll have more quizzes, and all those great things. This week, we're talking about interrupting. Usually, you might be thinking of interrupting as a bad thing, as a rude thing. But this time, we're talking about interrupting as a positive thing. As in, you're interrupting someone in order to create a better connection with the person you're talking to. So this is a different kind of interrupting, and so much so that maybe you don't even think of these kinds of interruptions as interruptions, but we're gonna get into that. So these kinds of interruptions create better connections with the other person, which is nice. It's impolite to interrupt when we change the topic or just disagree with someone before they finished their idea. That's rude. But these kinds are nice. If you interrupt someone politely with the purpose of connecting with the other person by sharing your interest and your own ideas or experience of that person, this makes them feel like you're actually participating in the conversation and make things even better, make things even more exciting. So here are 4 very good reasons that you might want to interrupt a conversation, interrupt a person talking. The first, of course, is to ask for clarification or greater detail about what they're talking about. You can interrupt to agree with the other person, which you might think is a bit weird, but it is true. You can interrupt to show interest and enthusiasm, all those wonderful things. You can interrupt to mention that you reminded of something similar that you want to talk about later. Now, if we're deciding to interrupt, we need to go about it politely. That's an important thing. We need to go about it politely. Politely. So we mentioned before, interrupting to ask for clarification. So we want someone to explain in more detail. We need to ask for clarification. This helps keep things on topic and also shows that you're listening to what they're saying. Here's some helpful phrases. Sorry, but could you go over that again? Wait. Sorry. Could you repeat that? I'm not sure I follow. Could you repeat that? I'm paraphrasing here. Sorry for interrupting, but I'm not sure what you mean. What was that again? What was that again? What was that? The second reason you might interrupt someone is to agree with someone. This happens a lot in casual conversation, and especially when you're talking about something that's important with them. Media, for example. TV shows, movies, podcasts, books, hobbies, things that people like to do. If you also experience said media, the movie, the podcast, it's fine to say, to agree with them, because this encourages them to keep talking. And we have some nice, pleasant things like here, like, I love that book. That last episode of Game of Thrones was so crazy. I love kayaking in the summer. I also thought his latest book was disappointing. I know, I didn't understand what happened in the last show either. If he or she is talking about personal experience, emotions, or feelings that you've also shared, you can say the following. These are about personal things. And these are more generic, as in like, I can totally relate. Been there. I know exactly how you feel. That's happened to me. I know what you mean. That's so frustrating. I know what you mean. That's so challenging. I know what you mean. That's so nerve-wracking. So you're interjecting a similar opinion. This shows the other person that you have something in common and you can talk about it in more detail. This creates a connection during the conversation. If you disagree with them, then it's nicer, it's more polite to wait until they're finished. But if we're interrupting to show enthusiasm, sometimes we're really excited on what they're talking about. We're really excited on what they're espousing on. So here's some phrases that can help us interject to show enthusiasm, to show excitement. I've been wanting to see that. I haven't had a chance to read that yet. Oh, I've been meaning to download that app. I've been wondering how that is. I've wanted to know how that works. I'm curious how you handled that. I'm interested in hearing more. Now, it's just nice, you don't have to use these phrases exactly, but these help. These brief interruptions can help move the conversation forward because the speaker knows that you are interested in what they have to say. The fourth is mention that something similar that you'll talk about later. So you want to relate to what the other person has said. So you want to share something similar, but you'll need to tell them later. You'll tell them later after they finished their anecdote. So that reminds me, I also want to talk about dang. Let's come back to that. As you were saying, remind me to tell you about my experience doing. This way you can go back to listening to what the other person's saying. Just to remember things in mind, don't interrupt with a long story of your own. Don't interrupt someone's story with another long story. That's not nice. Now, those are some reasons, the big reasons why we interrupt in people's conversation, in people's speech in English. Let's talk about how we can be polite when interrupting. So we might feel shy when jumping into a conversation while the other person is talking. Some people are very egotistical with such things. So sometimes it's rude, sometimes it's not. We'll need to play it as we go. So if you feel uncomfortable, here's some expressions to help you. Sorry, I just want to say, excuse me, but can I add something? Can I say something here? Can I ask a question? Before you continue, I just want to add. I like to comment on that. I like to say something. I like to add something. I'd like to remind you. Those are some polite phrases we can use. All these phrases show respect to the person's ideas. Make sure that it's okay to jump in. And you can just raise your fingers a little bit or lean forward with an enthusiastic smile like you want to say something. Those two things can help a lot if you're worried about being rude. So, but something to bear in mind, it's not rude if you have, one, especially good intentions and is thoughtful and you want to help keep the conversation going. You want to keep it engaged. You want to keep the good times a rolling. With that, I want to switch things up. We talked about interrupting, and these are still interruptions in the person's speech, but with a different take on them. Tactical empathy. And these are 6 methods of interruption that have been proven very effective in high-stakes situations. A gentleman named Chris Voss has popularized this term in his speeches. This man worked for the American law enforcement and the FBI as a hostage negotiator, as in he would negotiate with the kidnappers, with the people who had taken other innocents hostage. And a thing that you want to do when you're dealing with those kinds of criminals, keep them talking, because if they're talking, they're not killing people. Which is, it sounds like a joke, but it's not. So 1, effective pauses. If you're taking EP1, then you're going to hear about the term phrasing, which is putting pauses in our sentences, putting pauses in our utterances, putting pauses in our speech. And here, effective pauses. So when we're listening to people, we have to pause. We have to give them a chance to speak. If we give them an open-ended question, a question where they can make their own answer, then we have to let them talk about this. So open-ended questions are incredibly effective in getting people to talk about themselves. And in this way, people can talk in an open-ended way about whatever the topic is, and they're very effective, but you need to let people talk. So if we're going to ask open-ended questions, we have to learn to be silent. Now I'll give you an example. Where in the world would you most not want to go? And why? That's an open-ended question. Where would you not want to go? What famous place in the world do you not want to go? Do you maybe New York City? Maybe Machu Picchu? Maybe Cairo with the pyramids? But then why? Why don't you want to go there? That's an open-ended question. And people have a chance to think and talk about why they don't want to go someplace. Maybe they have bad memories. Maybe they think it's dirty. Maybe they don't like the people there. Any number of reasons. And then you can get them talking more. The second technique are called minimal encouragers. We do this all the time. These are just the, oh yeah, mm-hmm, yeah, oh, okay, uh-huh, yeah, those little, some of them are words, they're verbal reassurances that we're paying attention, we're listening. And they fill a bit of silence. And when you have nothing really to say and the other person's talking, it shows that we're still paying attention. They can keep talking. But don't overuse it or it's just annoying. It sounds annoying. I'm going to edit in some examples here. Mirroring. This one is far more effective than it should be at getting people to talk. You take the last few words a person said to you and repeat them back. You think, oh, this is going to sound stupid. And but if you do it with the flow of conversation, most people don't notice and it works well. So, someone's telling you about a difficult situation that they have at work. They have to tell a subordinate, someone under them, that they're going to fire them or they're going to criticize them. And they say to you, oh man, I have this meeting with Bill and I have to criticize his work. His work really has not been good enough. I have to let him know. And I'm just dreading it. And the mirroring comes in and says, dreading it? Wow. Or just dreading it? Wow, that sounds awful. You're just repeating the last couple of words they said. And then you go on the conversation. If you have the rising intonation of a question, it sounds like you're asking for clarification, which was the number one reason I gave before about interrupting, asking for clarification, for more detail. And that gets the other person to keep talking, to give more detail about what's going on. And this mirroring is a way to let people know that you're listening, you're paying attention, and it's a way of verbalizing empathy. Now, I have an example here, and hopefully it plays. This is it's a comedy podcast. And in this show, they talk about the FBI negotiation tactics, and one guy's like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool," and they talk about it. Then later on, the guy tries to use it on the other host. Well, let's see if we can hear.
You're starting to hit like woo territory, but
that's where I'm at currently. Right at this moment, I'm in the woo territory where I'm having this conversation with you, but I want to let you know my periphery is like a little fuzzy, and I just really want to go to bed.
Your periphery?
I'm like, what if I took a nap?
Your periphery?
Yeah, like the sides of my vision are not focused. I'm like,
You just heard it. You have two characters here. One the deeper voice gentleman is here on the right with the brown hair, and the higher voice gentleman is on the left. He's older and fatter. But the guy on the right, he just said your periphery, and what did the other guy say?
That's where I'm at currently. Right at this moment, I'm in the woo territory where I'm having this conversation with you, but I want to let you know my periphery is like a little fuzzy, and I just really want to go to bed.
Your periphery?
I'm like, what if
Your periphery?
I took a nap?
Your periphery?
Your periphery?
Yeah, like the sides of my vision are not focused.
And there you just have it, where the left guy, he was asked he took the mirroring as asking for clarification, asking for explanation, for more detail, and that's what he's doing. He's giving it right now.
I'm like in that state of awake where it's like, boy, I can function and I can do stuff and I can talk to you, but everything about my eyes is like, what if we closed? What if we just closed for a little bit? And then, what if we laid down though? That's where I'm at right now. I'm fine. Everything about me is working great, but my eyes are like, hey, what if we just took a nap? So that's my problem.
It sounds like you're sleep deprived.
I feel sleep deprived. Yes, you're absolutely right.
And there we have another technique of paraphrasing, sounds like you're sleep deprived. That's what he's talking about.
What if?
But it's weird because I'm not. It feels like I'm sleeping too much.
Sleeping too much?
Sleeping too much? Again, mirroring right there. They're just doing this for fun, but
yes. I maybe it's because my days are now segmented into different portions. I'll go to bed at a normal time and then sleep a little bit during the day. And it could be just because I'm mentally exhausted with staying inside all the time and constantly wiping down stuff. Here's a great example. If I go to the grocery store, right, and I need to get, I don't know, a carton of milk, right? The other day I went and got my parents' milk and ground beef, right? So
right.
The process is literally all right, so.
And just here, there's the micro, the little mini encouragement, right? He's showing that he's still listening.
You're starting to hit woo territory, but
that's where I'm at. Wipe it down with a sanitizing wipe, and even the bags itself. So now I'm done messing with the bags. So then I wash my hand. Literally, all that stuff is so exhausting that it's just I feel
Sounds
I'm
exhausting.
overwhelmed with the nonsense of just the times we live in, and it's just exhausting. And maybe that's it as well, where I'm just I hate this. I hate it. I too want to not do this anymore, but I'm gonna keep doing it because it's the right thing to do, but it sucks.
I don't know if you realize, but my last 5 responses to you were FBI negotiation responses.
I didn't realize that. I was in my own world. That's the thing is you could have got me to give you a bunch of money.
That's what I realized because yesterday I was telling
All right. So you see here that, yes, using these responses, you got the other guy to just keep talking, just keep talking, just keep talking, while giving no information in exchange. That's why we have this phrase, tactical empathy, in that it's trying to be intelligent with your emotions and trying to not manipulate the other person, although these can be used to manipulate people into different situations and different ways of thinking. It's something to be aware of, especially when you're dealing with, students or coworkers or people who just don't like talking as much. These methods are very helpful. I teach adults, not you are adults, of course, but I teach, one-on-one discussion classes with, executives at different companies, and I use mirroring and I use these other methods to keep them talking, to have them talk a lot more instead of me. And so these methods are helpful when you need the students to keep talking. And so these are actually quite helpful. The next technique they give is labeling. And labeling is just naming people's feelings. So we're going to use all the stuff we know about them and try to figure out how they're feeling. So are they feeling joy or awe or happiness or regret or shame or guilt or fear? Or are they sleep deprived? It sounds like you're sleep deprived. So you might get it wrong. They might correct you. It doesn't matter. This still signals of the person that you're trying to tune in. You're trying to care. You're trying to listen to their needs. Paraphrasing. This is like mirroring. Now, mirroring is just repeating back what the other person said. Peripheral vision. Repeating what they said. Those things. Paraphrasing isn't repeating back what they said exactly. It's not repeating back in their words, but in your words. So you're summarizing what they said using your own words, paraphrasing, changing a few things. So it's very related to mirroring. Next is summarizing. Here, as you might guess, you combine paraphrasing and labeling and mirroring and all those things, bring into your own words and the main point of what the other person's saying. And basically, it shows that you've been listening, you understand, and if you can summarize what they're talking about and they say, that's right, they feel in agreement with you, but you're not saying anything. You're just summarizing what they said. So this is a nice way to build a connection with someone by summarizing what they're talking about and how they're feeling, and then they can feel closer to you. So these are using these different techniques, combining them. Obviously, you don't just use one. And this allows us to be effective and powerful listeners, stay connected with who we're talking to, building a trusting relationship. Now, I say trusting, that sounds like it can be exploited. Not like that. Just be a better listener. And people will talk to you and tell things that you can't possibly believe. This has been proven time and time again, especially with people who are very skilled at this, like the Voss, the man who made this famous. He got people to feel like he was their best friend, and they told him everything about their lives and all these kinds of secrets, and he didn't tell that he was just he was the receiver of all this information, but he didn't give any information in exchange. So when you're done talking with them, they feel like they've been seen and heard and listened to, and appreciate having someone listen to them. These are effective listening techniques to help us work our way through life. I've used them in class with individual students, and they are very helpful for life as well. But this is focusing on in class. So this week we discussed interrupting as a part of speaking, how it's actually normal, it's a positive thing to do. And we also went over active listening or tactical empathy. I don't like the phrase tactical empathy. It sounds too militant. So these can be used to help us be effective listeners, but these are all interruptions. So it relates to that and keeps other people talking. We're going to have a quiz. Watch out for that. And it should be fun. There's no big homework for this week. Just a quiz. And there'll be some additional material to watch as well. And you'll be quizzed on that. And then we will see each other again. Well, you'll hear my voice and maybe see me again shortly next week, and all those extra wonderful things. And we'll have our first bigger project coming up soon. Thank you, good night, stay safe.
I wanna see how he succeeds. Bye.